welcome back to the stream. It's Wednesday, and you know what that means. It's time for Jump Around, our weekly cardio class that I figured was best to put in the middle of the week because that frequently is the place where we all feel like we're dragging. And even though the time has no meaning, it still feels that way a lot. Hi everybody. Good to be back here today to reclaim our Wednesday class. It is windy outside, and I think I see clouds that might have rain. It would be nice to have some rain considering, how much my state is on fire. So fingers crossed for rain, please. Oh my God. I hope everybody's week is going well. I've been going down a YouTube rabbit hole. A friend of mine introduced me to a YouTuber named Bernadette Banner, who is a clothing historian focusing on the 18th and 19th centuries. And she hand makes a lot of her own clothes, and she hand makes these gorgeous, reproductions of Victorian era clothing using the sewing techniques that would have been used at the time. And let me tell you, now all of a sudden I want to be able to make my own clothes. But I also, since I've not really ever sewn anything, I recognize that as a longer term project, but it did inspire me to get out some of my knitting needles, since we are heading towards colder season and knitting is something that I can do. So getting back into a knitting project, and hopefully gonna learn how to crochet as well, because that's next on my list of yarn-based crafts. I don't know. I was never crafty as a kid. Well, no, I take it back. My mother was never crafty as a kid, and thus I was never crafty as a kid. So I'm coming to a lot of this stuff, not late in life, because I'm only in my mid-30s, but later in life than many. And it's just like there's so many things I want to learn and be able to do, and it's really kind of cool to be able to make stuff that you can then wear. Like, what a crazy concept. We've become so far removed from the process of making clothes and, what goes on our bodies and in our bodies and all of this stuff. And it's stuff that I think about, because I think there is a lot of value in trying to reconnect to those pipelines and those processes that modern life really allows us to completely divorce ourselves from if we want to. So anyway, I spent most of this afternoon watching her extended series on creating a Lady Sherlock Holmes outfit for a convention last year. I am over halfway through the series, but am thoroughly inspired, and don't know how to do any of it, but want to be able to do it all. So that was my afternoon, truncated with a little, or punctuated, not truncated, punctuated with a little knitting as I got my knitting needles out and reminded myself how to make a hat, because I needed a refresher. Anyway, so if you are interested in crafts or dressmaking or costuming or historical clothing, if any of that sounds appealing to you, highly recommend checking out Bernadette Banner on YouTube. She is just a delightful human, and I'm thoroughly enjoying her content right now. So anyway, but it's also a far cry from what we are here to do, which is exercise. Woo! So, oh man, it's not a great look to start the cardio class yawning, but I try to always be honest with you about where I am, and that's where I am right now. I'm feeling kind of yawny, but It's not going to stop us. So, pre-class checklist. No, I haven't washed my water bottle yet. I have an evening free of any other scheduled activities tonight, so I think I will try to actually tidy around this place and actually make those cookies that I've been talking about for the last like 3 streams I've done. But make sure you have a water bottle or a glass of water. You're all in your homes, so you could just line up a row of pint glasses if that made the most sense to you. Something with which to hydrate yourself. Hello, my dear. Yay, always wonderful to have you here. I'm not sure if you're taking class, but make sure you're hydrating yourself anyway, because it's important, even when we're not exercising. Yes. Well, hydrate anyway then, because if you walked all over the city, I am willing to bet that you have not yet hydrated. So we've got our water, we've got our comfy clothes, we've got our mats set up, or a mat-sized space. And if you use a fitness wearable, we will turn them on now to high-intensity interval training. Keeping in mind, and I haven't said this in a while, fitness wearable, totally optional. I mention it in the pre-class checklist because it's something that I have been using for a couple of years now, and I do, for myself, find it useful, or at least interesting data. You know, and it has been, you know, at best an enhancement and at worst not a detriment. But these things can also make people super anxious or super, you know, super judgmental on their own progress if they're not making progress according to the wearable that they think they're supposed to be making. So if using a fitness wearable is more anxiety inducing than anything else, please do not ever feel like you need to use one. You know, we're here to do exercise as a tool in our toolbox, which means that any of this type of really intensive tracking of calories and, all of that stuff is data that can be fun to have, and if you're a data-oriented person, can be really interesting to have, but is not in any way necessary for you to work out and have an awesome and healthy and active life. So, never feel like you need to use them. I just mention them because I have one, and it's mostly to remind myself to turn the damn thing on. All right. So, where do we start? We start yawning, apparently. Oh, good grief. All right. No, we start with our warm-up. So, we start going over to our mats on our backs. 1 foot crossed over the opposite knee. Start out with those hip rocks and bridges. Oh, golly. I think I'm just tired today. Now that I'm doing the bike commuting, and the timer is going to start soon, so as soon as you hear that horn, we're going. Now that I'm doing the bike commuting, I've added a whole new day of exercise into my routine, and I'm really excited. I think it is a good addition, and it is something that my routine has room for. My exercise right now has focused mainly on teaching these classes, so that's about 4 days a week, which has been great, obviously, for me, but it is nice to have that 5th day in there and have it be an activity that is more just for me, but I'm still in that transitional period where my body is still getting used to having this extra exercise and this extra movement. All right, switching feet, still doing hip rocks and bridges. And so I think, thunder? Do you bring rain? That is my question for you. Sorry, if you didn't hear the thunder, then that just looked really weird. But yeah, I think it's just that, you know, I've added extra exercise in, and that is, you know, automatically going to have an impact on the energy that I have for all the rest of my days of exercise. So I think that a lot of this yawning is just coming from the fact that I am feeling a little bit, not run down, which is good, but a little bit more tired than I normally would on a Wednesday. Just because I have moved a lot more this week and last week than I have necessarily been used to. All right, we're lying on our sides. We're doing our best Jane Fonda impression. Remember, we have 2 more leg exercises on this side before we switch over to the other side. So when you hear that horn, don't go rolling over to the other side to immediately start doing the Jane Fonda leg lifts again. Stay here. But yeah, and that's, you know, it's totally normal and it's totally natural, and it's something that I'm trying to remind myself of, you know, when I'm like, why am I feeling so tired? It's like, well, you know, you added more activity into your schedule. You're still figuring out how that energy management works. You know, you may need to add in some more food, you know, to make sure that I'm getting all the energy I need to replenish all those energy systems before Tuesdays when I teach. And yeah, it's a good thing for me to keep an eye on, because sometimes feeling run down and tired can be a sign of overtraining. Overtraining, and I need to do more research into it because it is still something I don't have a very clear grasp on, but the basic premise is essentially, you know, exercise, like everything, needs degrees of moderation, and overtraining is a very real physical phenomenon. All right, taking that top foot behind the bottom knee, still lifting the bottom leg. That can happen basically when we're exercising too much. And symptoms can include worsening performance. They can include exhaustion, lack of interest in the exercise activities, you know, and it obviously can have a huge impact on not only your ability to continue working out, but even your desire to do so. So I do try to pay attention to that. It's one of the reasons why rest weeks are really useful, to make sure that you are giving your body time to really just take a step back and relax. You know, it's a good thing to pay attention to, because we need rest. Rest is important. All right, flipping over to the other side, doing the same 3 exercises, starting with Jane. Jane, oh God, I need to stop doing that. I've never actually watched any of her exercise tapes. You know, even for me, those the Jane Fonda workouts are pushing the edges of cultural consciousness for me. So it amuses me that this is the reference that I've landed on, but it sure is. Maybe at some point I'll find oh my god, people, I just had a great idea for a stream. All right, top foot in front of the bottom knee, lifting the bottom leg, finding some of those Jane Fonda workout tapes and trying to do class along with Jane Fonda. Oh my God. Oh my God, I can't write that down right now because I'm working out. Amanda, can you make a note of that for me if you come back to the stream? Because, oh, I do not want to forget that. That would be great. Oh man. All right, cool. It's going to happen. It's going to happen, my friends. We're going to find some Jane Fonda workout tapes and we are going to try those workouts and it's going to be ridiculous. Yeah. But for now, we're going to do our workout. And we like our workout. You know, we're here in the middle of the week. It is, what a week. All right, top foot behind the bottom knee, lifting the bottom leg still. This whole story around Jacob Blake getting shot in the back 7 times by a police officer, and then compounded with this, white kid who came and shot 3 protesters in Kenosha last night or 2 nights ago, and literally the cops let him walk away and go home to his home state of Illinois before anybody bothered to arrest him for murder. It is just, it's been a hell of a week. And I know that I am really, really fucking frustrated and angry and, just looking at what's happening and going, okay, so we have been protesting. All right, we're going to lay on our stomachs and do some scorpion twists. Start waking up. Oh, the backs and the hips. My hip cracked in that moment. It was great, but I wasn't expecting it. But yeah, we have been out there protesting police brutality for months, since the end of May, I believe, because that was a really weird end of month where my personal life exploded and then the world exploded. So we've been out there protesting police brutality since the end of May, and the response from police departments seems to be, oh, did you say you wanted more brutality? Because we can give that to you. And it's just, it is mind-blowing to me that this is still happening. All right, standing up, taking our imaginary PVC pipe, and we're doing big ol' torso rotations. It is mind-blowing to me that this is still happening. That in the face of people out there literally just being like, hey, how about don't murder unarmed citizens in the streets? That police officers are going, but I got into this line of work so that I could murder unarmed citizens in the streets, apparently. It's just, look, I never, ever want to be silent or equivocate on this channel about where I stand. So, to be clear, Black Lives Matter, and if you do not believe that, then this isn't the right channel for you, okay? Because that is a fundamental truth over here at Blanche Case Fitness, and I'm gonna say it as much as I can, as much as I have to, and hopefully one of the things that we can do here as we take these classes is use this energy and this strength that we are building to go back out into the world and to continue the fight for justice, for equity, equality, and we will be able to maintain that fight and to keep it going forward, because we're here for the long haul, my friends. This, you know, is not a one and done situation. Obviously, since the seeds were planted pretty violently several centuries ago, and you know, despite our, and by our I mean white people's, best efforts to pretend that all of it is in the past, it has never been in the past. And the only thing that is changing now is that we are unable or less able to turn a blind eye and to ignore what's going on. You have to be making a really, really deliberate effort to be doing that right now. And here at Blanche Case Fitness, we are instead, and by we I mean I, because it's only me, I am making a deliberate effort to be more vocal, to use my voice to lift up BIPOC voices, to educate myself, to really interrogate my own internalized white supremacy, and to do everything in my power to dismantle it. And that is something that I consider to be incredibly important. And I am never going to shy away from saying that with this platform, because if I'm going to be here on Twitch, building a voice for myself, building a platform on this website, then I want to make sure that I am using that platform and that voice to help people, to help marginalized people, to help people being murdered in the streets, to help people disproportionately impacted by racism, systemic racism, people disproportionately impacted by the American empire, basically. So there we go, my friends. It's Wednesday. Black Lives Matter. Let us all continue to fight for justice for Jacob Blake, and for Breonna Taylor, and for George Floyd, and for the protesters who were shot by a white supremacist last night in Kenosha, and for every other person whose names never should have had to become hashtags and calls for justice. So thank you for being here. Thank you for standing firm with me on these extremely important issues. And as we get to the end of our warm-up, we just got one more thing to do. As soon as that horn goes off, we will do our burpees. Woo! And remember, a wave push-up and a big ol' victory clap at the top. We are pumping ourselves up for the rest of class, and we are pumping ourselves up for the work that we need to do to help steer this country away from its massively racist roots towards something that better resembles justice for all. All right, here. So let's finish out these burpees. Woo! I love the little, the weird little hop when you're right in the middle of a movement and the ending timer goes off and you're like, well, I don't need to keep doing this movement, but I'm already slightly in progress. Thank you, Amanda, for putting those names in the chat. Yep. Say those names every day and keep fighting for them. All right, my friends, let us have some water. Hydration, always important, whether you are taking your exercise class or out there at a protest. Hydration, very important. Steve, oh, that is a fantastic emote. Oh, I love it. Awesome. Thank you for that. And good to see you. Or I guess see your name in the chat. Anyway, all right, my friends, we have warmed up, got a little sweat going, got ourselves nice and fired up about the work that we want to do out in the world. So let's go through class and get ourselves that energy, that strength, that stamina to do all that work. All right. So we are going to start with, oh my God, the thunder. Please keep your fingers crossed for rain. We need it so badly. We're going to start with a perpetual motion set. I know I don't usually do those in our cardio days, so fun times ahead. And we're going to have 3 exercises. Obviously, you know the deal. First one is going to be our side-to-side superheroes. So lying on your side, come up to the very edge of your mat and lie on your side, lifting your arms and legs off the ground. Then you're going to roll over your back, still keeping arms and legs off the ground. I'm doing that by engaging my core. And up onto the other side, and then we're just going back and forth. You do not need to keep your body in a straight line for that. In fact, that would basically make this exercise impossible to do. So I generally will bend my body into almost a U shape as I come up onto my side, especially if I've got good momentum going. It just helps, makes it easier. Then, second, we're gonna do some toe squats. So we take our feet in that nice hip width position, and then I'll show you from the side as we squat down, keeping our backs straight up and down, letting our heels come off the ground when they need to, so you can come all the way down to the floor like this, and then all the way up, and just down and up. Remember, do not let gravity take control, okay? No bouncing around at the bottom. It's really bad on your knees, okay? And then our third exercise is just gonna be some push-ups. Yeah. So I do not mind if you do your push-ups from your knees, from a plank, if you do plank down, wave up, or you just do full-on wave. The most important things when you're in this plank, even if your knees are down, make sure your shoulders are directly over your wrists, nice 90-degree angle. And as you're coming down, keep your elbows right by your sides, okay? So no letting your elbows fan out like that. So those are our 3 exercises: side-to-side superhero, toe squats, and push-ups. So let us get going. Ooh, let me fix that timer. Make sure we have enough repetitions. All right, so as soon as you hear the timer, you will be going with those side-to-side superheroes. Hey! So here we go. This is one that is really awkward for me, not because of the exercise itself, but because my mats are narrow enough that when I go from side to side, I just roll off the edge of it, and there's at least an inch of puzzle piece mat down there. So I sadly can't do them as easily, which is sad because I like the exercise, but when you spend more time wrestling just to get the form right, you know, there's only so much value that I can glean from the exercise doing it that way. So it's all right, but if you are also using a raised mat, then consider moving part of the mat while you do those so that you have a flatter surface to work off of. All right, doing those push-ups. Remember, anything that involves this plank position, we need to make sure that we are engaging our shoulders, okay? Nice, strong, stable shoulders. Super important. Our shoulder joints are ball and socket joints. They are designed to be super mobile, super flexible, and that is great for a lot of the stuff that we need to do with them. But we also need to be able to activate the muscles going into that joint, stabilize them. Sometimes we don't want our shoulder to be moving around. Sometimes we really need it to hold a fixed, firm position. And if you are not putting a lot of energy into making sure that that shoulder joint is stabilized, then it can get wrenched around, dragged around with certain exercises, and then you are more likely to end up with a shoulder injury. You all have heard me complain about mine more than enough on this channel, so just suffice it to say, it is not an area that you realize its importance of until you've injured it, and then it's all you can think about. So do what you can to avoid getting a shoulder injury. Now, for perpetual motion, so remembering our, ow, God damn it. I don't know why I keep trying to do the side-to-side superheroes on here. It's just not gonna happen. Remember the 3 components of the bare minimum: starting on time, stopping on time, doing the exercise correctly. For perpetual motion sets, starting on time means minimizing the amount of time it takes you to transition from the exercise that you are currently doing to the exercise you need to do next. So we're on our 3rd and final time through these exercises. So you should be old hands at this by now, right? You have totally got this figured out. But you want to really make sure that you are losing as little time as possible to the transition. If we've got this 30-second work interval, then I want you to be using all but 1 second, really. I want you to use as much of that interval as possible. And awesome job, guys. Let's grab some water. And sometimes it's easier for some transitions than others, you know. If I'm going from TikToks to a turtle stand, then all I need to do is go from this piked position and roll back onto my shoulders. Super easy. I don't even need to take any time, basically. I basically will get to do the entire 30 seconds. If I am transitioning from TikToks to, say, toe squats, that's a little trickier. I have to move into a totally separate plane, I have to get up onto my feet and use a very different set of muscles. So always think about that, even when you're doing your Tabata timers. Just pay attention to each exercise and how you would get from one to the other. It's part of that spatial awareness as we move through this. Hey, yeah, you warmed up. See, warm up is magical. It gives us energy we didn't know we had. All right, now we are going to do a Tabata. So Tabata is a timer structure, and I believe it was created by a scientist in Japan of the same name. And the goal basically, it's basically the cornerstone of high intensity interval training. And the goal is to be able to maximize the amount of benefit you're getting from your exercise in a smaller amount of time, which is why you see it in these types of class structures. So the idea is work interval and a rest interval. The classic Tabata is the 20-second work interval to the 10-second rest interval. So I'm exercising really hard for 20 seconds and then resting for 10, and then exercising really hard for 20 seconds and then resting for 10. You can play around with both the length of the work interval and the length of the rest interval, which is why today we're going to do a 30-second work interval and a 10-second rest interval. But here are our exercises for said Tabata. First one are going to be flying chickens. So for the flying chicken jump style, it's different from a jumping jack where you jump out and then in. For flying chicken and its cousin, the star jump, we jump up, our legs come out in the air, and then land in the same place where they began. So out, in, out, in, out, in, out, in. For a flying chicken, I'm gonna take my thumbs at about chest height. If you wear a bra, hooking your thumbs under your bra is a very easy way to tell where that goes. And we're just flapping our elbows, basically, as we jump up and down. So, flying chickens. Then, speaking of TikToks, we are going to do some TikToks. We're gonna come up to this pike position, arms straight, hands together to one side of your knees. Extend out just far enough that you can bring your arms over without having to bend at the elbow or lift them. Then back up, and up, and up, and up, and up, like that. And then third is turtle wave. So, wow, my example was prescient, and I hadn't even remembered that I'd put this in the class plan. So, we're gonna roll up onto our shoulders, then up onto our feet. If you have difficulty getting up onto your feet through momentum alone, you can use a hand to push yourself up. Then plant your hands, jump back into that plank, wave push up, jump forward, and repeat, okay? So those are our exercises. We are doing, again, flying chickens, TikToks, turtle waves. And it's a Tabata timer, so the first sound does not mean go. Woo, we'd love to see it. We'd love to see it. All right. So as soon as you hear that horn, keep resting. There you go. So that is our stop sound, our rest sound. And then you will hear knock, 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 which means get into position so that the second you hear this next horn, you are moving immediately. So for Tabatas, starting on time means the second that you hear that horn start to play, you start to move. You're not waiting until the horn finishes. You're not waiting for me to tell you, oh, hey, it's time to go. You are going as soon as that fanfare goes, and you're not stopping until you hear that sound. So that's why we have the knocking in this timer. so that when you hear that, you know that you have to get into position to get ready to do your next exercise, okay? So whenever you hear that knocking sound, you know that you need to prep, that you need to move yourself into position so that you can start moving the second that you hear the next timer. So, 10 seconds really isn't a ton of time. We are not getting a super huge rest here. And that's part of the goal. Part of the goal is how hard can you push yourself during the work interval, and how easily can you bring your heart rate down during the rest interval. It takes practice. It takes a long, long time. Whew. But what we like about this timer style, what I enjoy about it, is that it gives us a really great opportunity to really push and challenge ourselves, because that becomes the difficulty. The longer that you're exercising, you hit these plateau points where you feel like you're not able to get over that hump and get to your next, performance goal. And part of that is because your brain is very adept at figuring out how to do what it's being asked to do with the least amount of effort. So when we do these Tabata timers, we have a great opportunity to really just push for as hard as we can go, as fast as we can go, because we know it's a bounded timer. We don't have to go for a super long period of time, and we're gonna get that rest. It's not a long rest, but it is a rest. And so every time we do something with the Tabata timers, I really want you to think about challenging yourself to really push for a little more speed, a few extra reps, a little more power, okay? And always remember that it's really hard to tire yourself out completely because you're only doing 20, 30 seconds, and then you're getting that rest. So think about that whenever we're doing the Tabatas. That's the beauty of them, and that's, the reason that they feature so prominently in classes like this. All right? Hey, we are going into our final run through these exercises. So speaking of going for speed, when you're doing something like the flying chickens or the star jumps, you do not need to be bringing your legs way far out, because that's going to slow you down. You're like, all right, well, this looks kind of cool, but it takes a lot more energy, and I can't do as many reps if I'm doing that. So I, as you will notice, do much smaller jumps in there because it takes less time, so I can really go for that speed and for that power, okay? So keep that in mind when you're doing those. When you're doing these too, there can be a tendency to really extend super far out, and then again, it's harder to quickly pull yourself back into that pike, and that means that it's harder to do as many reps as you might be able to do otherwise. So always think about that, particularly here on Wednesdays, because we are focused on cardio, because we are really focused on moving, speed, those heart rates going, getting ourselves really pumped up while we do class. So these are just some good things to think about. Woo! All right. Water time. Huzzah. Oh, my core is just not up to the TikToks yet. That's fine. It's a good thing to know. And you know that my recommendation when you're working on core strength is that slow leg lower exercise that we do a lot in class. That is a really great exercise for strengthening your abs, your core, because you can't compensate with any other muscle groups. You just have to really do the work with your core. All right. And all of that, first it was a balance thing, now it's mostly endurance. All of that is stuff that comes with time, honestly. You know, and all too frequently, it will feel like you're banging your head against an exercise for ages, and then one day you'll come into class, and for some reason, it will just click, and you won't really understand why, consciously, but the why is you kept doing it. The why is practice makes better. And so even with the exercises where you really feel like you're banging your head against a wall, you're still getting better at them, even if you don't feel it. And that's how you end up with these sort of aha, what the heck just happened moments where you're like, oh, why does that feel so much easier? Well, because you've been doing it for a while and practicing it for a while, and your body has been getting better, just not at a level where you could feel it consciously. All right, don't worry, there's going to be plenty more core work today. Speaking of, let's do another perpetual motion set. So, same timer. So 30 seconds. We're going to do skips. So just skipping in place. Tra-la-la. Going through a meadow. Probably not one in Colorado since they're all on fire or smell like they're on fire. Poor Colorado. Poor California. Holy crap. Climate change, friends. Then we're going to do ankle reaches. Speaking of core stuff that I love. So legs straight up and down. Please try your best to not put a bend in the knees. If you have to, then when you bend the knees, bring them a little closer to you so your feet are still going straight up in the air. So don't bend the knees like that and angle your feet away, okay? And then we engage the core to bring our shoulders off the ground. Reach one hand to the outside of the opposite ankle and back and forth and back and forth. And then our third exercise is gonna be a front plank from the elbows. All right, so we are here keeping our butts out of the air, shoulders directly over our elbows since we're not up on our wrists. And we're just holding this for those 30 seconds. Oh, such fun stuff. All right, so those are our exercises. Skips, and then ankle reaches, and then front plank from the elbows. Here we go. As soon as you hear that timer, you are skipping joyfully on your mat. Remember, we are not trying to move all over the place on our mats. We are just staying in one place and just skipping along. And, skips are generally exercises I put in cardio classes. They're not hardcore cardio, so you can probably try to push yourself a little bit faster on them, but just know, you're never going to feel the same thing
that you would feel from, say, burpees, all right? But now we're down here doing our ankle reaches, making sure those legs are staying straight up and down, which is one of those things that, you know, can feel easy until suddenly it no longer feels easy. I definitely had that experience doing those in class once. Not a class I was teaching, a class I was taking. And we had to do them for a full minute, I think. And I got to the end of that minute and just really realized how hard it was to keep my legs straight up and down for a whole minute while also doing the ankle reach, you know, the core engagement and the reach portion of the exercise. It was wild. Oh, my goodness. Hi, friends. We're here. We're getting pumped up. We're working away. And man, do I love air conditioning. It is awesome. All right, coming into our second time for those ankle reaches. So again, we want to make sure that we are not trying to perform the exercise with the wrong muscle group. So with ab exercises, that tends to manifest in trying to pull ourselves forwards using our head and neck. So if you've ever gotten done with like crunches or bicycles or ankle reaches and gone, wow, my neck feels really stiff, kind of sore. Well, I hate to tell you this, but it's probably because you were performing the exercise not by engaging your core to lift your shoulders off the ground, but by trying to pull yourself forward using your neck. So if that is something that you've been noticing, I want you to really dig deep for me. I want you to really pay attention as we head into our last run through these 3 exercises. I want you to really pay attention and go, okay, am I doing the ankle reaches by engaging my core and contracting it so that it lifts my shoulders off the ground? Or am I trying to pull myself along with my head, with my arms, with some exercise, some muscle group that is not supposed to be participating in this particular exercise? So really pay attention to it, and you'll know when you're doing it correctly, because man, does it take a lot out of your core to do this. You know, that's another thing that I definitely, you know, I didn't do these correctly myself for a while. And when I really finally started to pay attention and started to really use my core for that exercise, I could tell I was doing it because suddenly my core was getting so much more tired, so much sorer than it ever had before. All right, good job, everybody. Yeah. Hi, Mommy. Ooh, that looks like a spam comment if ever I saw one. Fun. All right. Well, we're going to go back to the tabatas, my friends. We are getting close to the end of class. Yeah. So we're going back to our 30 seconds to 10 seconds. I know, it's good to be exercising. Let's leave it for now. If anything else comes through, then we'll give them the boot. So next Tabata, still 30 seconds of work, 10 seconds of rest. And here are our exercises. The first one, I've been doing them a lot recently, but that's because they are great exercises for this. Flaming scarlets. So we've got our arms in a V for victory, and we're just jumping back and forth, one foot to the other, getting our knees up above the crease in the hips. So the goal is to get them all the way up here, not just prancing, okay? And it's hard, okay? And sometimes you won't be able to maintain it the whole time. And that's fine. Just know that your aspirational position is getting those knees all the way up each time, okay? Then, second one is going to be kick-throughs. Y'all know kick-throughs? I don't have to explain that to you. We did them in the warm-up. And third, you know what it means. When I turn my mat to the side, we're going to do shrimps, okay? So, moving ourselves along the mat from one side to the other by first rocking our shoulders over, then hips, then shoulders, then hips, shoulders, then hips. Oh, I've hit the end of my mat. Time to go back in the opposite direction, okay? If you are struggling with these, if these are a new exercise for you, if you find yourself turning in circles, then just start with a really tight boat rock and just visualize, okay, every time my shoulders come up, I want to move them in the direction I'm moving. Every time my hips come up, I want to move them in the direction I'm moving. All right? Woo! Okay. So here we go for our Tabata. So it's going to be 30-second work interval, 10-second rest interval. But joy of joys, because it's a Tabata, that was not our go sound. That was our stop sound. Now we're getting into position because we heard that knocking, and we are going. Now let me tell you, 30 seconds doesn't really feel that much longer than 20 seconds for a lot of exercises. For flaming scarlets, it can be a marked change, you know? So just really dig deep for that energy, for that pushing yourself forward. And look, see, 30 seconds is nothing. You got this. I'm gonna hold off on kick-throughs for myself because my shoulder's feeling a little twingy. But that is what you are currently doing, is kick-throughs. Yeah. So remember, your standing leg is 90-degree angles, knee pointing up towards the ceiling, okay? So we don't want that knee caving in, and we don't want our butt coming down to the floor. Both of those are gonna put really unhealthy pressures on your knee when you go to shift to the other side, okay? All right, time for shrimps. Whee! You can go for speed on these if you've got them figured out. My mentor coaches a teen climbing team, and they will do shrimp races where they see who can get up and down on their mat the most times. So, you know, we're all in our living rooms, and there's not really anyone around to race, so maybe race yourself. See how many times you can get from one side of the mat to the next in those 30 seconds. All right, here we are, second time through. Remember, and I haven't talked about this as much recently, but it is always important focusing on our form, particularly when we are getting further along through class, we're getting more fatigued. That's when we start to lose it. That's when we start to lose our conscious control over what we're doing, okay? So, especially now, especially when we are so close to the end of class, really, really almost there. I really want you to recommit to your form. Each time you start one of these exercises, I want you to check in. Am I still doing the exercise correctly? How does this feel in comparison to the first time that we went through this exercise? How do my energy levels feel as compared to the first perpetual motion timer that we did at the beginning of class? Does it feel like more of a struggle for me to maintain that form? Or am I actually actively noticing that I'm losing my form in some places, okay? These are important things to be able to identify. And it is so critical that we really keep an eye on our form, because I've said this before, it is absolutely no good to be able to do 50 reps of a thing, but to do them incorrectly, okay? All you're doing in that instance is training your body wrong. And, 9 times out of 10, not only are you training your body wrong, but you are also training it to do something that is actively setting it up for injury down the road. So really, really make sure that you are paying attention to your form, especially as you get tired and it gets harder and harder to maintain. That's when you really have to dig deep and recommit, because the better that you are at really making sure that every repetition is done correctly, the easier it will be for your body to perform these exercises correctly, even as you start to get fatigued, even as your brain starts to wander and you're exerting less conscious control over what you're doing, okay? So always, always, always focus on doing the exercise correctly. And if you're over here and you're like, I am no longer doing this exercise correctly, then you need to figure out how to change that. Either slow down, or take a rest, or just say, all right, I really can't keep going for this set. I am always going to be focusing my comments on really trying to push us through and challenge us. But at the end of the day, you know your body, and you are the one who can tell when you're hitting that failure point, okay? So we're not trying to go to failure in the sense of I can no longer do the exercise correctly. So if you really, have tried modifying, have tried slowing down, really concentrating on form, and just really do not feel like you are able to hang on, then stop for a bit, okay? All right, my loves, we've got one more thing to do. And it's going to be a cardio Tabata because it's cardio class. So what else would we end with? All right. It's going to be burpees, but it's going to be turtle burpees because I like making you think a little bit at the end of class. All right. So let me get my mat set back up. Hiya. So turtle burpees have started appearing more frequently because I got a little bored with the regular burpee style, and I wanted to do something that re-engaged my brain in that process. So what we are going to do, start from that standing position, just as we would with a burpee. We're going to roll, do the turtle roll that we do in any other turtle, quote unquote, based exercise. Plant our hands, jump back to that plank, wave push up, jump our feet forward, jump up in the air, and then back down. Plank, wave, jump, and down, okay? So it's gonna take a little thought because it's slightly different than what we normally do. So make sure you're paying attention because if you're not, it may throw you off a little bit. All right, my friends, everybody back on your mat. Here we are, we've arrived, our final Tabata of cardio class. We're doing our traditional 20 seconds of work, 10 seconds of rest. We're going 8 times through, just doing this one exercise. I'm gonna take my glasses off for this, just because it's more comfortable for me to not be thinking about them, even though now I have the nice new glasses that no longer fall off my face. Ooh, and I got sunglasses today as well. So now I have both, and that is really nice. Okay, 1 down, 7 to go. My friends, we are here. We are here in the final Tabata of class. We have made it through an hour. We have pushed ourselves to the limit, and now is the time to really take all of that remaining energy and just push it all out onto your mat, into the room. You do not need to hang on to any of that anymore. We've got no other exercises planned. We're just gonna be doing a little stretching afterwards. So we are here to really go for the gold. So now is the time to really ramp up the intensity. You know how when we're doing our warm-up, I tell you not to ramp it up because we're just trying to get everything in gear. Well, now we can ramp it up because there is nothing else that we are waiting for. There's nothing else that we're trying to hang on to this energy for. We are here. This is the moment to use it all. Oh my God. Time to get those cheerleaders out. Put them on the floor, next to your mat, next to your computer, next to your television. You're halfway through. They're doing their best floor routine. They're going crazy because you know what? They are super proud of you, and so am I. We've talked a lot about a lot of really intense stuff today. We talked a lot about intense exercise stuff. We talked a lot about intense stuff going on out in the world around police brutality, around systemic racism, around white supremacy. We talked about wildfires, of which there are many, including a bunch in my own current state of residence. There is so much going on, but you know what? You took this hour and you joined me here on your mats, in your living rooms for an hour to really take care of yourselves, to push yourselves, to go for health and for fitness, and you are going to be able to take this energy and this power and this strength that you are building, and you're going to be able to take it right on out into the world, into whatever you need it for, okay? There's a lot that we need to be able to deal with right now, my friends, and there's a lot that we need to be able to deal with in our personal lives too. Our personal lives don't stop just because there's also a ton of stuff happening in the world. I know that. I know you know that. So here on our final time through, let's just all really dig deep. Use this as a chance to defiantly show the universe that no matter what we are dealing with, no matter what we are fighting through, we are going to get through it because we came here for an hour, we took care of ourselves, and we did it with style. Good job, everyone. Woo! Awesome, awesome class. Awesome class. Oh man. All right, let's do a little stretching. Let's do a little stretching because it's a good way to end our class. So let's come back to our mats, and I want you to take a nice sturdy stance about hip width apart for your feet, and just lower your chin to your chest, okay? And what we're gonna do is we're just gonna roll our backs down one vertebra at a time. So starting from up at the top of your spine and letting each vertebra curl over until finally you get down to your hips and you're basically totally folded over. Your legs will still be straight, but your torso will be folded down, hands on the floor or as close as you can get them, okay? So take your stance, chin to chest, and we're gonna roll down on an 8 count. So I'll count us down. Ready? Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now that you're down here, shake your head out. Make sure you're not holding your neck. Your head should just be hanging gently, letting gravity take its course. You don't want your knees to be locked like this. Let them have a little bit of a bend. We're not bending them, but we're not locking them in place, okay? And now from this position, we're going to take 4 counts to squat all the way down and 4 counts to return to this position. And each time you straighten your legs again, I want you to see if you can fold a little closer to your thighs. All right, so here we go. We're gonna do this a couple times. Get ready and go. 1, 2, 3, 4, back up. 5, 6, 7, 8. And again, down, 2, 3, 4, and up. 5, 6, 7, 8. Hold the back of your ankles for me and just see if you can pull your torso a little closer to your quads. Shake out that head a little bit. Just make sure still that you are not holding tension in your neck. All right, and now release your hands, and we're gonna bend our knees, and then we are gonna roll back up. So we're basically doing the opposite of what we did to get down here. And when you are standing straight up and down, I just want you to stay there, okay? Again on the 8 count, here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Stand right there. Don't adjust your clothes. Don't adjust your hair. Don't shift your weight around. I want you to feel that height in your spine. I want you to feel the blood moving through your body. Take a couple of nice, deep breaths. All right, and move. Shake your arms out a little bit. Shake your feet out a little bit. And I think our other stretch, let's just do a quad stretch. You know how much I love that one. So coming down to your mat. For the working leg, I'm gonna fold it so that the ankle, the heel, is on the outside of the hip. And I'm just gonna try and pull that heel in as close to the hip as possible. My other leg, I'm just letting that knee fall open. Foot is up here by this knee, It's not really critical. It's just sort of chilling there. The main thing is as we get into the stretch, make sure that this knee does not start to come off the ground. All right? So now we're going to activate the stretch in the top of our quad by slowly letting ourselves down backwards until just far enough so that you can feel that really intense stretch, all right? I want you to move slowly, and as soon as you feel that high intensity stretch, don't keep trying to go down farther, okay? So if this is all that it takes to get that stretch, awesome. If you can get all the way down to your elbows, that's great. Or maybe you can get all the way down to the ground, okay? Wherever you're able to get to, just chill there for a sec. Really feel the stretch happening. And we're going to do 4 deep breaths. And every time you inhale, I want you to visualize the oxygen going to where the sensation is most intense. And every time you exhale, I want you to try and sink a little bit deeper into the stretch. All right? 4 deep breaths. Here we go. That's 1. That's 2. That's 3. And 4. And take a second. And then really awkwardly, not very gracefully, sit back up. Don't move this leg of its own accord. Take your hands, one to the knee, one to the ankle. Rock onto your other hip and just move the leg with your hands. Stretch that other leg out too. Shake those knees out a little bit. And then we've crunched the ankle a bit, so let's stretch that out. Flex the feet and point and flex and point and circle the ankles. First one direction and then the other direction. All right, and now for our other side. Here we go. All the same notes apply. Nothing is magically changed since this first side. All right, so getting down into the stretch as far as you are able to. Remember, always pay attention to your body. We don't want to force ourselves to go farther into the stretch than we can handle, because trying to force ourselves into the stretch is going to tell your brain, oh, I'm supposed to activate that muscle, and then the muscle is going to try and contract, and that's not what we're doing here. We're trying to lengthen the muscle. So wherever you are, we're going to take those 4 deep breaths again. Here we go. That's 1. That's 2. That's 3. And 4. Take one last moment here. And then carefully get ourselves back up. Hand to knee and ankle. Stretch that leg out in front of us. Bring the other leg to meet it. Shake those knees out a little bit. Flex the feet and point and flex and point. Roll the feet, the ankles, first one direction and then the other direction. And that's it. Woohoo! Oh man. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Tendons in right leg not happy. Which tendons is useful info? You're talking like hamstrings along the back of your thigh, or are you talking actually down in your ankle? Anyway, we can chat about that. You know, it doesn't have to be in the Twitch chat, but, you know, generally it's hard for hammy and Achilles. Generally, it's hard for ice and heat to go too far awry. So yeah, let's chat about that a little bit. But first, thank you all so much for being here. It was a good class. Yeah, so I don't have brilliant ideas on it right now. And again, I am not a doctor, so, you know, I am constantly learning new things. So my general advice is it's hard for ice and heat to go too far wrong. You generally don't want to leave either on your body for more than, I think, 20 minutes, and then you need to give your muscle a rest. Don't leave them directly on your skin. Always have some barrier, like a towel, in between you and the ice pack or you and the heat pack. Yeah, the reason that I didn't want to dig too far into it here is because I don't honestly know. And I would rather tell you all, hey, I don't know, I'll have to look that up, than to give you incorrect information. So, yes, that's my brief. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. Thank you for coming to my Twitch stream. Awesome class, my friends. So wonderful to have you all here. We've got 2 more classes this week. Friday is Functional Home Fitness, where we do weight training using objects you can find around the house. I've got some fun new exercises for this week. I'm excited to try them out on you. And then Saturday mornings at 9 a.m., we have the weekend kickoff, which is an awesome strength and stamina focused bodyweight class. All times are mountain time, because that's my time zone. If I ever move, times will become a totally different time zone, and that will be exciting for all of us. All of the, I guess it's standard end of class caveat time. You can follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Facebook and Insta at Blanche Case Fitness. Twitter at Blanche C Fitness. My YouTube channel is Blanche Case Fitness. Please go there and subscribe. I upload the VODs from these streams every week on Sunday, and there's going to be a lot of additional content going out on there. You know, resource content for people, overviews of the warm-up sequence and of stretching sequences, and form videos. So there'll be lots of stuff going up on there, so definitely subscribe over there if you can. If you enjoyed class and feel financially able to do so, to make a donation, help me keep doing these classes. I do have a Ko-Fi account, Blanche Case Fitness. Donations always appreciated, never required. And if you enjoyed yourself and want to help me keep making more content, then please do follow this channel. We have a rollicking good time, as you can tell. So yeah, thank you all so much for being here. Enjoy the rest of your Wednesday. I'm gonna enjoy my night off tomorrow, and I will see hopefully some of you back here on Friday. Mwah! Have a great night.